When you think of a gang, what do you think of? The Crips, the Bloods, the Hells Angels, MS-13? Well, there's a world out there that has a dark underbelly, and it's ruled by these notorious criminal organizations. From the streets of New York to the boulevards of Los Angeles, these gangs have staked out their territories. According to the FBI, there are as many as, get this, 33,000 gangs operating right now in America. Now, most gangs come from poverty, dysfunctional families, and academic failure. Think of how many horrific videos we've seen of thugs attacking people, and it's always just seemingly random. Or footage of flash gangs robbing stores. You've all seen this, right, where they just come racing in. These menaces to our society have even attacked police officers in Times Square. This is happening in any town, USA. Take a look.
In less than a minute, a group of people calmly walk into a beauty supply store, clear shelves of high-end products,
You notice they're blurring these kids' faces. I disagree with that. These young people come together with the belief that they won't be held accountable because they're minors. But tonight, I'm going to talk to you about a new gang that is terrorizing a wealthy community in Gilbert, Arizona. The FBI named Gilbert the second safest city in America with its manicured yards and pricey homes in the millions. But parents of this town say it's under attack by a teen gang called the Gilbert Goons. Now, sadly, last year, 16-year-old Preston Lord was fatally beaten to death outside of a Halloween party. Katie, a mother of four, made it her mission to uncover what happened to Preston, and that's when she discovered this gang syndicate in her own backyard.
The Gilbert Goons are a group of boys who went around town wreaking havoc, drinking and driving to beating people up using brass knuckles. They heavily vaped, used marijuana, cocaine, and fentanyl. They attacked several of my friends' sons. I work in youth mental health and advocacy, so I'm very well connected in the community. They were coming to me asking, like, what do I do? My kid just got his head bludgeoned open. I think after Preston died, everyone was in shock. October 28th of 2023, Preston was attacked at a party by 7 to maybe 15 individuals. Punched him using a hammer punch to the head. They kicked him in the stomach. They stomped on his head.
911 emergency.
Hey, I'm at a party. There's a bunch of people out here with guns and He just jumped my friend and he's knocked out on the ground.
Okay.
He's been out unconscious for like 2 minutes. We need people over here.
Okay.
I'm scared.
The crisis that the children were faced with, the horror, the terror, they were screaming because they were afraid. There were many points where we could have intervened as a community, as parents, as law enforcement to stop this, and we didn't.
Well, the sad thing is, this is just an example, because this is happening all over the country. And it turns out the police in this town have classified the Gilbert Goons as a hybrid gang of 20 or more kids made up of mostly white, upper middle-class males. Nothing like you think about a typical gang. Now, our News on Merritt Street anchor and former Los Angeles prosecutor Lonnie Coombs knows a thing or two about gangs, having prosecuted many of them in Los Angeles. She traveled to Gilbert, Arizona to see for herself what's going on in this city of 267,000 people. And what she uncovered was a teenage source willing to talk to her. He says he was friends with the Goons. The teen sat down with Lonnie in silhouette for fear of being targeted.
Did you ever see any of the robberies?
Yeah, I saw a few of them. There was this one time where this kid was like walking, and they liked his shoes, and they ran up to him and was like, give me your shoes, or like, I'll kill you. And then like they pulled a gun out on him and then took the shoes.
Did you know them?
I did not know the kid, no.
Okay.
It was a random kid.
Just a random kid?
Yes.
So if they saw something they wanted, they would just go up and
Take it. Yeah.
take it at gunpoint?
Yes, ma'am. Or threaten to beat you up.
Let's be honest, we're not getting any younger, and if you want to look and feel your best, check out Pure Health Research. With 45 premium health supplements targeting every health goal, boosting energy, trimming belly fat, supporting blood sugar, increasing testosterone, or reducing leg swelling, Pure Health has you covered. Each formula features natural, non-GMO ingredients backed by clinical research and manufactured in the USA. Here's the best part. Pure Health Research is offering you an exclusive 35% discount. Just go to purehealthresearch.com and use coupon code PHIL at checkout. With their 365-day money-back guarantee, there's zero risk in trying something new. So why wait? Head over to purehealthresearch.com now. Explore their 45 amazing supplements and save 35% before this deal ends with coupon code PHIL. Don't miss this chance to feel your best. Well, we'll hear more from Lonnie's interview with her source and his mother, but first, Lonnie and I want to find out how Katie uncovered this gang activity on the streets of her own idyllic town. So, Katie, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I really have a problem with what's going on here because I don't like bullies, I don't like gangs, and I don't like parents not paying attention to what's going on with their kids. And this just fits every category for me right down the pipe. Why did you get involved in this?
After Preston died, it was sort of a mystery who did this. The kids knew. There were 200-300 kids at the party, but just as a parent in the community with 4 teenagers, I started asking my own kids around, what's going on. And then social media led me and others to sort of identifying, who might have been involved.
When you started digging in, you found out this wasn't an isolated event.
No, December of 22, one of my friend's sons was bludgeoned with the brass knuckles. So I was aware there were a few boys, but after Preston's death, as I started digging on TikTok, very public TikTok accounts of these boys, the drinking and driving, the beating people up, uploading videos of their blitz attacks. So there's typically 8 to 10 of them. They just surround you, beat you up, leave you laying on the ground. And they were very public about posting it. So just going to their individual accounts, it was all right there.
Okay, and you say they actually have a page called Pound Town.
Correct.
That's for pounding people.
Yeah.
Okay, now, Lonnie, what do you make of this?
Dr. Phil, I'm really, really upset about this situation. As you know, I prosecuted cases for 18 years in LA, and I, dealt with the Bloods and the Crips and Venice 13, and those are what they now call traditional gangs, right? And there was an organization to them, and there was a hierarchy, and they were really coming out of people living in inner city, poor places where it was desperation, right? It was survival to either join a gang or they were forced to join a gang. So when you asked me to go to Gilbert, Arizona to check into this gang, I'm like, Gilbert, Arizona, this is a beautiful, well-to-do area where the kids there have pretty much anything they could want. And there's a gang here, and when I met with this source and I talked in detail with him about the evolution, really, of this gang from more of just a skating group that was into vaping and drinking into very violent acts and serious selling of drugs and guns and the kinds of detail he was giving me, I was shocked and outraged for the parents, for that community that have literally been threatened for years by a very savvy group of kids who use the social media to be able to continue to threaten and harass their victims. And they do things in such a pointed, specific way. And they use the social media as well to buy and sell the drugs. And we're talking about Xanax, fentanyl, cocaine, serious drugs, as well as guns, submachine guns, assault rifles. I mean, these kinds of guns, this is not just a simple group of kids who have been bullying and got out of hand. This is a real gang situation.
Yeah, and they're victimizing people to the point that somebody winds up dead. Next, Lonnie's interview with a teen who says he knows how the goons operate. He's going to tell us about that when we come back. $36 trillion. That is the U.S. debt, and it gets deeper and deeper by the day. Our debt has never been higher, nor have the stakes. The government is looking to slash the federal budget by $2 trillion, and no one knows what that will mean for your job, savings, and future. I've seen a lot in my time, and there's one thing I know for sure. You need to prepare before it's too late. I trust Preserve Gold to help protect my wealth, and I strongly urge you to do the same. They are the only precious metals firm I trust and recommend to my family, friends, and audience, and they have a special offer just for you. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to get your free precious metals guide from Preserve Gold. With gold prices recently breaking records and analysts predicting this trend to continue throughout 2025, you cannot afford to wait. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 with a qualified purchase from Preserve Gold. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505 today.
This attack was in December of 2022. You see some goons starting to surround the victim, and then the brass knuckles typically come out of the hoodie pocket and start to hit his head, along with 4, 5, 6 kids sort of descending on him, much like a lot of their attacks.
Well, that was Katie, who says that she collected almost 20 videos of the Gilbert Goons fighting on the streets of her affluent community. And Lonnie Coombs is a former Los Angeles prosecutor whose job it was to help take down gang activity in LA. The story's not in LA, it's in Arizona. So she headed to Gilbert to talk to a source who happens to be a teen with ties to the Goons. Now, he's in silhouette to protect his identity, and it's interesting that we're talking to a teen here because we tried to talk to other people too. Gilbert PD declined, Gilbert Police Chief declined, former police commander and mayoral candidate declined. One of the victims of the Preston Lord's family declined. Mayoral candidate 2 times, no response. Current Gilbert mayor 4 times, no response. Former Riggs Elementary School principal, no response. 14 goon parents, all no response. Nobody wants to talk about this, but they're eventually going to talk, I will promise you. They're either going to talk in court, they're going to talk to me, they're going to talk to somebody because, well, let's just hear what the one person that was willing to talk had to say, and then we'll talk some more.
Did the members of the Gilbert Goons consider you a member with them?
No, ma'am. They considered me just a friend. Sophomore, junior year, I started skating and drinking and smoking with them.
And how many kids were in the Gilbert Goons?
Like good 40, 50, 60 kids. It was predominantly white kids, but there were a few people of color in the group. And from like ages 16 to like 23.
Real quick, let me get back into action. Hold up.
Eventually they started getting into fights, and then once they realized they could win the fights because they had numbers, they just started terrorizing everybody. One of the fights was like a brawl. There was like 30 kids versus the whole like 50 goons. I saw guns getting pulled, and then they had brass knuckles, and like a few kids had to get stitches because of them.
Tell me about the guns.
So they would sell any guns, really. They had handguns, ARs, semi-automatic rifles, some machine guns, like whatever you wanted, they would sell to you.
Where were they getting these guns from?
Other people, they'd rob them. They'd just walk up to them and like put a gun to their back and tell them to give them their gun.
Did you think they were ever gonna get caught?
Yes, ma'am. They weren't very smart. Like they used to walk around the parking lot of that fast food place in front of cops drinking and smoking. Granted, the cops didn't do anything. Either the cops don't care or the cops are, I think, being paid off. They were doing some serious, like, heinous acts in front of these cops. Like, they'd be walking around with their brass knuckles out, and, like, you could see, like, their gun poking out of their shirt, and, like, the cops wouldn't do anything.
Well, the cops have done something here. I'll give them that because arrests have been made, correct?
Finally.
We've got mugshots of some of these goons. 14 arrests have been made. And do we know what the charges are?
There's a wide range. Some were just assaults because there's a number of different incidents, but the ones that really sort of broke it open was Preston Lord's death. Right. And so there are suspects that are charged in his murder, as well as a lot of other attempted murder or assault cases.
These are the young men charged in Preston Lord's murder right here. Mm-hmm. That means that there were at least 7 people beating on this one kid, right? Mm-hmm. And this is their MO. And you've got videos of a lot of this. And a lot of these kids in these videos have not been arrested, right?
Correct.
Why?
There's been some plea deals made, but a lot of, what the police chief continues to say as late as last night is, we didn't know these kids. We didn't know them as a gang. We didn't know them as the goons. When we heard about this after Preston's murder, then we started making arrests. But it did take a solid 2 months, even after Preston died, for them to start making arrests.
All right, so what's the difference between these Gilbert Goons and the typical street gang?
So the original type of gang was highly organized. It was hierarchical, so you had the young people starting up, and you had old gangsters, OGs, who would sort of teach them the code and the rules to follow. They were fighting over territories where they ran their crimes. And a lot of the violence came from if you crossed territories. So it was gang-to-gang violence. These hybrid gangs, it's not organized. You don't have the OGs who are kind of keeping the youngsters in line. So you have all of these young people who take on the characteristics sort of their generation, where they just kind of do whatever they want. They feel entitled. They have just random outbursts. And they're targeting literally innocent bystanders. And another thing they do, which is a new twist here, is that while they're beating them, they'll take a video of it and then they'll post it to shame the victim, or they will send the victim through Snapchat their address or a picture of their beating to threaten them and say, if you talk to anyone, we will do this to you again. We know where you live, you're not safe. Which is one of the reasons why literally they were being terrorized, because they were all afraid to come forward and afraid to talk.
As we go to break, we hear from one of the goons' victims. They beat him up in a parking lot. The teen wanted to speak out, but says he's fearful of retaliation, so we hid his identity. His father says it got so bad, he moved his son to Europe. We'll meet him next. Life is full of surprises, and emergencies often strike when we least expect them. But preparation is key, and that's where Jace Case comes in. With Jace Case, you'll have essential emergency prescription medications right at your fingertips, ready when you need them most. Whether it's an unexpected illness or a travel mishap, having the right meds on hand can turn a potential crisis into just a minor inconvenience. Don't let the unexpected catch you off guard. Jace Case gives you peace of mind so you can tackle life surprises with confidence. Be ready. Take charge today. Head over to jace.com. That's JASE.com. And when you check out, use the code PHIL, spelled PHIL, to get a discount on your order and to have the right meds on hand the moment you need them.
When I look at the affluence in Arizona, I've worked with many students over my lifetime who have lived in $2 million houses and aren't getting their needs met. And when your needs aren't met, you will go find a crew and a cause to meet your needs and have that sense of belonging. We may have all the things and the boats and the vacations and the money, but is your kid fulfilled? If this is not a wake-up call for our community and every community in America, then I don't know what is.
You could not be more right. If that's not a wake-up call, then we have no right to complain about what happens. Katie says she uncovered a gang terrorizing her town, Gilbert, Arizona. Katie met Rick after his 17-year-old son was viciously attacked in a public parking lot. The teen says the Gilbert Goons were behind his beatdown. Now, Rick's son wanted to tell his story, but he did not want to be identified for fear of retaliation. Here's what he has to say, but he too is in Silhouette.
I was attacked by the Gilbert Goons.
Yo, chill, bro.
I was first targeted like my first week of high school in 11th grade. They were talking smack to me and saying that they were gonna beat me up. They were like, I know where you live. And they were saying where my dad worked, my stepdad worked, my mom worked. They came to my house. My dad was outside walking our dog, and they were like calling out for me. And they took a picture of my car in the garage, and they sent it to me, and they're like, we're here. And so I was like telling my dad, like, Dad, come inside. They might hurt you. I don't want them to hurt you. And he just told me to stay inside, and he went out. But they all drove off, and he called the police. I went to a fast food restaurant to meet up with my friends. It turns out that some of the goons were there. They just chose to attack me for no reason. Like this silver pickup truck comes up, and they all jump out, and they all surround me. They just like tackle me to the ground. I hit my head on the ground. And they're just like punching me, stomping on me, kicking me in the face, my stomach, my back. So I was just like curled up in a ball. I was like crying, saying like, please stop. So they stopped and they went away, but they took my shoes off my feet. My face hurt the most. The whole inside of my mouth was like bleeding. Like I had cuts everywhere. I had a concussion. I had bruises all over my back. Emotionally, I felt scared. I was just scared that I was gonna lose my life.
Well, Rick, thank you for being here. What are your emotions about this?
I have a lot of emotions. That's actually the first time that I've seen that video. So I'm very angry. I'm very disappointed. There were so many red flags. I thought I did the right thing, hit all the check boxes to make sure the school knew about it, the police, and this happened, and it should have never happened. I can even remember telling the police officers that night that it happened. I asked them to, calm me down because, I was thinking some pretty traumatic things because that's my son, my only son. So I was angry at myself too because I felt a little naive because, I moved to Gilbert because it was the second safest city. It had the best schools. It's a great place. So I had trusted those stats. I trusted the officials that ran the cities and the police and all that, and they failed miserably.
And this didn't just happen out of the blue. This built up, right?
That's correct. My son has been bullied before, and I moved him from one high school to another school because of that to start fresh. And literally 6 days as a new student in there, I got the first threat. And I went right to the school and I showed him the Snapchat threat. And I remember telling him specifically, I said, hey, we need to take this seriously because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when this is gonna happen.
And what was that first Snapchat threat?
It was a picture from a kid he went from with the other school, telling him that, he was gonna get his or the boys were gonna jump him. And it shows him, on the ground with some guns, putting ammunition in a gun.
And what was their justification for targeting him?
There's no justification. He's a good kid. He's a good athlete. Maybe he had something that these kids were looking for in their life or something that they didn't have in their family or something. I don't know. I know I've talked to Katie about it many times, and there's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, at one point, they took his shoes, right?
During the assault, yes.
When they jumped him, he had a concussion, he had contusions, he was hit with brass knuckles.
I don't know if they used brass knuckles on him, but his mouth and jaw were really bad, messed up. And the thing that really stuck in my head the worst was all the footprints on his back, on his shirt. And they
were stomping on him?
Yeah, I just couldn't believe it.
Well, do you think this can be stopped, or do you think the city has lost control?
I think a couple of things. I think the city grew very fast, and this has been bubbling up for a while, and it just exploded in their face, and they weren't ready for it. And so I think there's incompetency.
Well, let me tell you, I disagree with you because it can be stopped. And somebody needs to step up, by God, and stop this. You can't turn your city over to 50 thugs that come in and want to take it over and start beating up the kids. And they may beat the rap, but they ain't going to beat the ride. And all these people not returning phone calls, not wanting to talk about this, you need to listen up, because somehow you teach people how to treat you, and you need to make it clear that somebody's going to run this city, and it's not going to be those punks.